Oklahoma City police have arrested two brothers in connection with the Lake Overholser double homicide. Robert Ardizzone and his 25-year-old brother Marty Ardizzone were arrested at their homes last night about 11 o'clock. Detectives now say there is no doubt the murders were the result of a drug deal. One of the victims was 27-year-old Russell Lee Wilson of Norman. Action 4 learned Wilson used the alias James Robert Davis and lived part-time in this Del City house. 10 days before the murders, Del City police confiscated drugs and drug paraphernalia from the house. A source told us Wilson allegedly peddled drugs he bought in Florida in the southeastern part of the country. The State Narcotics Bureau says Wilson was arrested on a narcotics charge in Georgia back in 1979. The other victim was 21-year-old Lisa K. Cusick of Jones, originally identified as Lisa K. Fritzler, a name from a previous marriage. Wilson and Cusick had reportedly known each other for 3 or 4 months. Late January 2nd, they were shot to death in Cusick's car parked in a ditch south of Lake Overholser. Police believe the killer was in the back seat of the car when an argument and struggle broke out, possibly over a drug deal. About 24 hours later, police arrested Marty Ardizzone after he had crashed into 4 homes and was shot by one of the homeowners. Ardizzone apparently broke into the homes out of fear, saying someone was chasing him with a shotgun.
He was trying to run through here, and we grabbed a hold of him. He did go all through the house, through every room, and he was hollering, "They've got guns," and they're after me. And I finally got him to lay down on the floor over there.
He laid down over here to let him come.
He was hollering, "They've got a shotgun at the kitchen window." There it is. He said they were chasing me with a sawed-off shotgun or something like that, so I don't really know.
Ardizzone recovered from the gunshot wound and was released on bond. However, detectives believe they have linked the Ardizzone brothers to the double homicide in the 73 Cutlass. The suspects are in the Oklahoma City jail, but should be taken to Canadian County for arraignment sometime tomorrow. Larry Otis, Action 4, Police Headquarters.
Oklahoma farmers are having a hard time making ends meet. These Wheat Growers Association members say high interest rates and high production costs combined with low prices are about to force hundreds of farmers into bankruptcy. Former Vice President Walter Mondale said on Action 4 AM that several things need to be done to help the American farmer.
We have to balance, get this budget down and closer to balance to get those interest rates down. We need to adjust that farm program, not to make the farmers rich or to guarantee profits. They don't want that, but to just protect them against disaster, because I'm afraid we're going to see wholesale farm foreclosures if around this country if we're not careful.
Mondale pointed out that family farmers have done so much for America and the world. Mondale said if we allow our family farmers to be ground out of business, this country will suffer terribly. Ben McCain, Action 4.
Yesterday, the Senate gallery was packed for nearly 3 hours before the senators took their vote on the Equal Rights Amendment. The spectators left either pleased or depressed. Today was another story. The Senate has taken an option to bring the ERA up again at a later time, but only a few people were on hand to make sure the vote went their way. Women in red spent part of their morning in an otherwise empty Senate gallery, working on their newest letter campaign. The letters will be addressed to senators whose allegiance for or against the amendment is in question. They carry the message that Oklahomans are against the Equal Rights Amendment. Women who favor the amendment were using another tactic. in a low-key way visiting senators who were against them the day before, telling them they could still be friends, and they thanked the ones who voted yes and encouraged continued support. The atmosphere here can best be described as subdued. There's a sense of relief over having gotten the vote taken and out of the way. But Senate leaders say they'll probably bring the measure up again, possibly as early as Monday. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4 at the state capitol.
Action 4 was first on the scene seconds after the suspects were captured.
Move. On back. On back. On back to your car.
And we were the first to be told to leave until the suspects were secured. It all began on the Turner Turnpike near Stroud. Trooper Leon Spencer was questioning one man during a routine stop in his patrol car when one of the passengers moved behind the wheel of the suspect vehicle and took off. A 40-mile high-speed chase was underway, westbound on the turnpike through the gate and then south on I-35. Just north of Memorial Road, we witnessed Trooper Spencer overtake the suspect, force the car into a complete turn, then use his patrol car to ram the big Olds into a concrete divider, blocking any chance of escape.
Y'all hurting me.
After a scuffle with the suspects left one trooper slightly injured, the driver of the car was taken into custody. She was identified by authorities as Sandy Edwards of Midwest City. The two other suspects, one in the patrol car, the other riding with Edwards, were not identified. Meanwhile, another trooper coming to help in the chase was seriously injured when he lost control of his car on the I-35 construction detour. Trooper Tim Wilson was taken to Mercy Hospital with internal injuries and a fractured pelvis. He is listed in serious condition and is undergoing surgery. Ted Brown, Action 4.
Important that we have knives. And thank you, district commanders and those in the audience. And we've got to pay a salary to keep those people. The carry problem of meeting people that we have knives. And you, the thank you, district commanders and those in the audience. And if we're going to maintain, we've got to pay a salary to keep those people. The carry problem of meeting people that we come in contact, that our next door neighbor, even with the same trip, is just ask. I asked him how these bodies would be disposed of. He says, well, nothing comes forth to be cremated and the ashes disposed of. To me, this was really a disgrace for this nation. If they can spend millions of dollars in foreign aid and elsewhere, they can really give our veterans a decent funeral. They gave of themselves to serve this country, to preserve the freedoms which you and I enjoy, and they deserve a decent burial.
It didn't matter that there was a sign saying no parking. People parked their cars wherever they could find a place at this unemployment office near Midwest City and Del City. Inside, the layoff GM workers were greeted with a 2-hour wait in line just to file their application. The applications will be taken all through the week. The workers were given a certain day to come. Their future is uncertain. If car sales pick up soon, they could have their jobs back by this summer. Most of these people will be drawing 95% of their salary. The question is, what kind of incentive would there be to go back to work, especially when GM may hire them back, and other employers might not be willing to pay what GM paid. So while they're unemployed, it is not something one sees too often in Oklahoma.
It's just a matter of fact. Oklahoma has never experienced anything like this in the past because we haven't had this type of real heavy industry here before. And I believe that as long as you have your heavy industry, you're going to run the risk of this on occasion.
For now, it's a wait in line for these laid-off GM workers, while most of them would rather be back on the job on the assembly line. Bella Shaw, Action 4 at the Midwest City Del City Unemployment Office.
Senators who favored ratification met with Oklahoma Senate President Marvin York late this morning. York has been leading the fight for ratification in Oklahoma, and he said that this morning things looked bleak.
I've had considerable reluctance on the parts of the members that I've talked to change their position, and I think at this point in time it is anybody's guess, but the prospects don't look too good at this time.
When the Senate met, York applauded the legislators for giving the issue the dignity it deserved, but he told them it was time to put the issue to another vote. Senator Joe Johnson of Hefner, Oklahoma, moved that the resolution to ratify be tabled, a move that would effectively kill it. York hoped he had picked up support in the last few days, but the vote was the same, member for member. 27 votes against the ERA, 21 votes for.
The sergeant at arms will remove the demonstrators from the gallery.
Disappointed sympathizers couldn't keep quiet.
Remove them from the gallery. Would the officers remove the demonstrators from the gallery?
Disappointment. Dropped by the Senate leadership because
Floor
of
leaders
lack of
recognized.
support.
Mr. President, I move the Senate stand at ease until further call.
Voted down. The demonstration didn't end in the gallery. The victors, the vanquished, and the disappointment moved outside.
Our job here in Oklahoma is to make it clear to the legislature that we are here to stay, that we represent the majority, and they are going to want to ratify.
They say they've been fighting for equal rights too long, and if they have to, they'll start over again from scratch. Charles Smith, Action 4 at the state capitol.
Janet Kelly, mother of 9-year-old Troy Kelly, rushed to the school to find her child, but he wasn't there. She was told to go to the Midwest City Hospital. In all the confusion of transporting injured children, Janet was frantic when she learned he wasn't at Midwest City Hospital either. Moments later, however, some of her fears were put to rest when she found out he'd been taken to Presbyterian. In fact, she's been able to talk to Troy.
He said he was in the cafeteria eating, and he said all of a sudden there was a big explosion, and I asked him what cut his head. He thought it was a milk carton. No, it wasn't, but
Edith Johnston was a little luckier. She found her daughter at the explosion site.
They had her laying in a room on a bed, and then first they wouldn't let me go in, but then later on he said I could, so I went in there, and she wasn't in there very long till they came in and they brought her out, and started putting her on, on the ground. I talked with her, and she knew who I was, and she just said that she said, my head hurts, Mama.
Both of these mothers are thankful. Their children are in fair condition. Today's tragedy makes them realize how important the family is.
Makes people, they should appreciate what they've got. They really should. And they, that you should be a close family. Shouldn't have problems within your family. That, life is precious, and you're only going to have it, one time. If it's gone, it's gone.
The emergency room here at Presbyterian Hospital is relatively quiet tonight. But foremost in the minds of everyone involved in today's tragedy is that such a terrible event will never happen again. Carol Lambert, Action 4 at Presbyterian Hospital.
Since the sentencing of former Oklahoma County Commissioner J.P. Dick Richardson, many other county commissioners in Oklahoma have decided if they were guilty of taking kickbacks while in office, it is better to plead guilty and not try to fight the charges in court. Now it has been left up to state lawmakers to try and at least reduce the chances of commissioners taking kickbacks in the future.
Most Oklahomans who know of the county commissioner scandal would like to see some reforms in county government. The first change has already passed in the House and now goes to the Senate. The House voted to cut the term of county commissioner from 4 years to 2 years. But that's only one change, just what is needed to stop a repeat of the scandal.
Assistant U.S. Attorney Bill Price, who is the prosecutor in many of the commissioner cases, thinks much more must be done to change the county system or kickbacks will gear up again.
I see the probabilities are that if substantial changes are not made in the current system, that you will have a repeat of the kickbacks, maybe in 4 or 5 years. They might be afraid to do it for a number of years. But if that discretion on the part of the county commissioner continues to be unchecked, it probably will repeat itself.
And so the House has made another major move. A second bill has passed in the House which would strip commissioners of most of their purchasing power. The purchases would then be made by county clerks. Federal officials think the change is good, but only if county clerks are free from influence of commissioners. Ed Stewart, Action 4.
What were you doing in the cafeteria at the time?
Eating.
Eating? What were you eating? Do you remember?
I just now opened my lunch pail.
Mm-hmm. Just opened it up and that was it, huh? When the explosion came, what did it do to you?
It knocked me on the floor and over 2 tables.
Kidneys giving you a little problem? Is that what it is? You're feeling pretty good though, huh? You gonna be glad to get back to school again? Were you happy to be in school in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you were. You're not too happy about going back again? Yeah. It's going to be sad for a while, isn't it? Yeah. I'm sure glad you're okay, though. A lot of people are. You glad you're all right?
Mm-hmm.
I hope 20th Century Fox is not hoping to rely only on Chevy Chase's followers, that is for the film to do well, because if they are, they're in big trouble. Modern Problems is an appropriate title for this movie because that's exactly what it has a lot of, problems. Chevy Chase portrays a character which is typical Chevy Chase. He's clumsy, feels sorry for himself, and he's the recipient of unfortunate occurrences. Chase plays an air traffic controller, and he's having personal problems, and he's confused about where his life is going. The big surprise is that his job is not the cause of any of his problems.
Over. Roger. What else? Chicken, ham and cheese, deviled egg, and Reuben.
Got any tuna?
I don't know.
This is Air France inbound from Tunis, coming in at 325.
350.
Hold Air France. 350 for tuna?
Copy your collection, coming in at 350 from Tunis.
Not you, Tunis. Maintain 325.
Okay, first remove the body from the pilot's seat.
You turn right, you go right. You pull up, you go up. You push down, you go down.
One night, Chase comes home to find his girlfriend, Patty Darbanville, has left him. We find out one of Chase's biggest problems is his jealousy. Chase calls up his ex-wife, played by Mary Kay Place. They go to a party where she meets an old friend, Brian Doyle Murray, and she eventually moves in with him. And, of course, at the party, Chase sees his old girlfriend with another man. Somewhat depressed, Chase leaves, and on the way home, he pulls up behind a truck hauling nuclear waste. The nuclear waste poured on him gives him some strange powers, and he uses them. It gets to the point where we actually get tired of his powers and the way he uses them. Well, the last part of the film takes place at Doyle Murray's house. A fun-filled weekend is planned, but that's not what happens. Murray's maid is portrayed by Nell Carter. She seems to be an expert on voodoo and the occult. And the other guest is Dabney Coleman, portraying an obnoxious, repulsive, egotistical writer. Chase's jealousy erupts again in conjunction with his telekinetic powers, and after that, it's a boring, unfunny escapade. The film's tremendously slow. Everyone except Coleman appeared apathetic to the whole thing. Modern Problems should be taken to 3 Mile Island and left there. The film is truly a nuclear disaster. I'm Dean O'Lally.
Who would have thought a week ago you could find children outside on a school day? 5-year-old C.J. Johnson was out today helping sweep the driveway to keep him busy because he missed his friends. C.J. is one of those who attended the Star Elementary School. He is one of the lucky ones.
Just start playing.
The day of the explosion, he had gone home at 11 o'clock, free from the lunch hour crowd that had gathered in the cafeteria. He, like the rest of the kids, will be reassigned to Rogers Middle School. His mother is thankful for that.
And every day he gets up, he ready to go to school. He ready to go. He don't like to stay at home. I don't know, I'm just scared. It's such an old school, I'm just scared something else going to happen. That's the way I feel.
The younger ones, like CJ, are probably the luckier ones. Their memories have a longer chance to fade in time. Bella Shaw, Action 4 in Spencer.
The doctor had told me on Friday of last week that Angela's brain was dead and that the heart would eventually But the life support machine will eventually slow down until it eventually stops beating. This morning, or late yesterday afternoon, Angela's heart started to pick up rapidly, and it is so strong now that I know that Angela will make it.
If she dies, I want her to die on the machine. It's just like if I sign the papers, it's just like I'm killing my own kid, and I will have to live with that the rest of my life.
Angela is very, very strong. She have a very, very strong heart, and she have a very, very strong desire because she know that she's been loved by each and every one. And from Angela, through Brenda, through me to you, I say, keep the prayers coming, keep the letters coming. This is what's keeping her drive. I talk to her quite often. Brenda talk to her. She don't talk back, but we know she hears. And this is what keep her going. The love that we have, the love that you have. So I ask you again to keep the prayers coming.
A customer pulled up at this Gas and Go on Northwestern about 8 o'clock last night. When he went into the office, he found the gas attendant lying in a pool of blood, his throat slashed. He called the police, and they arrived shortly thereafter along with an ambulance. The gas attendant was taken to Baptist Hospital, where he died 45 minutes later. A complete investigation of the gas station's office was made. The entire room was dusted for fingerprints and searched for any possible clues. Police roped off the parking lot surrounding the station so that those clues yet to be discovered would not be disturbed. Only one thing is known for sure: the cash register was stolen. There are no other leads. No identity has been released on the victim of this brutal murder. Action 4 was told he was a 70-year-old man who had worked at the gas station for less than a month. Sherry Sellers, Action 4.
This is Clinton, normally a quiet little town in western Oklahoma, but lately tension between many of the Indians here and police is growing every day. Several Indians in the town have formed a citizens group to fight what they feel is unjust treatment to minorities. The main charge is harassment by police officers. Group members told Action 4 they are going to the city for help now. A list of 33 recommendations will be given to the Clinton City Council on what changes the Indian group would like to see concerning Clinton law enforcement.
The ones that are always picked up over and over and over again. They've made statements that when they've been picked up, that they're shoved around. Some of them are hit and kicked.
It was the death of William Redbird that sparked the interest on how Indians are treated. Redbird was picked up by Clinton police last December and charged with public intoxication. He was placed in a holding cell called the drunk tank, where he died a few hours later. Local Indians say he may have been drunk or simply very ill. That's why some of their major recommendations are to have experts make that determination and have hourly checks on the prisoner's well-being. Clinton Police Chief Jay Green says he was not aware of the Indian complaints and says most of the proposed recommendations are already police policy.
Some of them are already taking place as required by the Oklahoma State jail standards that requires us, and they have an inspector that comes out once a month and checks our jail facilities and checks to make sure that we're meeting these requirements. And some of them are just not feasible, money-wise and personnel-wise.
So what we have is two completely different stories. The only thing both sides agree on is that they'd like to solve this problem before it becomes more serious. It'll be up to the Clinton City Council tomorrow night to decide which version is closer to the truth. But the Indians say if they're still not satisfied, they may have to settle the matter in court. Ed Stewart, Action 4, the Clinton City Hall.